We've gone to the three woeful planes, hell, animal realm, and the ghost realm. And that was the three dukkati, woeful destinations. Now we come to the two sugati, happy destinations of rebirth. The first one is the manusa loka, human realm. And then later we go to the deva, or the heavenly realm. Now, the human realm, at the moment our lifespan of humans now is approximately 70, 75 for women. But this human lifespan in the Digha Nikaya Sutta 26 is described, varies from 10 years to 80,000 years. And to give you the details, I'd like to read from the Sutta itself, give you a very clear idea. Now, when people's lifespan is very long, 80,000 years, and at that time they have a lot of blessings, and a universal monarch or wheel-turning king appears in the world. This man is such a good king that the whole world wants him to be the king. And so he rules over the whole world. And the reason why he's so popular, because he uses Dhamma to rule the world. He does not use force, and he helps those who are in need, and he's good to everybody, so that everybody is well and prosperous. But there will come a time when the king who takes over does not rule according to how he should rule, and then problem starts to develop. So I'll read to you how this king, he did not know the duties of a wheel-turning monarch or universal monarch. And the Sutta said, instead he ruled the people according to his own ideas. And being so ruled, the people did not prosper so well as they had done under the previous kings. For example, he did not give property to the needy. This from the Sutta. He did not give property to the needy, and as a result, poverty became rife. With the spread of poverty, a man took what was not given, thus committing what was called theft. They arrested him and brought him before the king, saying, Your Majesty, this man took what was not given, which we call theft. The king said to him, Is it true that you took what was not given, which is called theft? And he said, It is, Your Majesty. Why? Your Majesty, I have nothing to live on. Then the king gave the man some property, saying, With this, my good man, you can keep yourself, support your mother and father, keep a wife and children, carry on the business, and make gifts to ascetics and Brahmins, which will promote your spiritual welfare and lead to a happy rebirth with pleasant result in the heavenly sphere. Very good, Your Majesty, replied the man. And exactly the same thing happened with another man. Then people heard that the king was giving away property to those who took what was not given, and they thought, suppose we were to do likewise. And then another man took what was not given, and they brought him before the king. The king asked him why he had done this, and he replied, Your Majesty, I have nothing to live on. Then the king thought, if I give property to everybody who takes what is not given, his theft will increase more and more. I had better make an end of him, finish him off once for all, and cut his head off. So he commanded his men, bind this man's arms tightly behind him with a strong rope, shave his head closely, and lead him to the rough sound of a drum through the streets and squares and out through the southern gate, and there by inflicting the capital penalty and cutting off his head. And they did so. Hearing about this, people thought, now let us get sharp swords made for us, and then we can take from anybody what is not given. We will make an end of them, finish them off once for all, and cut off their heads. So having procured some sharp swords, they launched murderous assaults on villages, towns and cities, and went in for highway robbery, killing their victims by cutting off their heads. Thus, from the not giving of property to the needy, poverty became rife. From the growth of poverty, the taking of what was not given increased. From the increase of theft, the use of weapons increased. From the increased use of weapons, the taking of life increased. And from the increase in the taking of life, people's lifespan decreased, their beauty decreased. And as a result of this decrease of lifespan and beauty, the children of those whose lifespan had been 80,000 years lived for only 40,000. And a man of the generation that lived for 40,000 years took what was not given. He was brought before the king, who asked him, "Is it true that you took what was not given?" which is called theft. "No, your majesty," he replied, thus telling a deliberate lie. Thus from the taking of property from the not giving of property to the needy, etc., as before, the taking of life increased. And from the taking of life, lying increased. And from the increase in lying, people's lifespan decreased, their beauty decreased, and as a result, the children of those whose lifespan had been 40,000 years lived for only 20,000. And a man of the generation that lived for 20,000 years took what was not given. Another man denounced him to the king, saying, "Sire, such and such a man has taken what was not given," thus speaking evil of another. Thus from the not giving of property to the needy, etc., etc., the speaking of evil of others increased, and in consequence people's lifespan decreased, their beauty decreased, and as a result the children of those whose lifespan had been 20,000 years lived only for 10,000. And the generation that lived for 10,000 years, some were beautiful and some were ugly. And those who were ugly, being envious of those who were beautiful, committed adultery with others' wives. Thus from the not giving of property to the needy, etc., etc., sexual misconduct increased, and in consequence people's lifespan decreased, their beauty decreased, and as a result the children of those whose lifespan had been 10,000 years lived for only 5,000. And among the generation whose lifespan was 5,000 years, two things increased: harsh speech and idle chatter, in consequence of which people's lifespan decreased, their beauty decreased, and as a result the children of those whose lifespan had been 5,000 years lived, some for 2,500 years and some for only 2,000. And among the generation whose lifespan was 2,500 years, covetousness and hatred increased. Covetousness is greed for other people's things and wanting other people's things. And in consequence, people's lifespan decreased, their beauty decreased, and as a result, the children of those whose lifespan had been 2,500 years lived for only 1,000. Among the generation whose lifespan was 1,000 years, false opinions increased, and as a result, the children of those whose lifespan had been 1,000 years lived for only 500. And among the generation whose lifespan was 500 years, three things increased: incest, that means sexual misconduct between relations, excessive greed and deviant practices. And as a result, the children of those whose lifespan had been 500 years lived, some for 250 years, some for only 200. And among those whose lifespan was 250 years, these things increased: lack of respect for mother and father, for ascetics and Brahmins, and for the head of the clan. Thus from the not giving of property to the needy, etc., etc., lack of respect for mother and father, for ascetics and Brahmins, and for the head of the clan increased, and in consequence people's lifespan and beauty decreased. And the children of those whose lifespan had been 2.5 centuries lived for only 100 years. Monks, a time will come when the children of these people will have a lifespan of 10 years, and with them girls will be marriageable at 5 years old, and with them these flavors will disappear: ghee, butter, sesame and salt. Among them, kudrusa grain will be the chief food, just as rice and curry are today. And with them, the 10 causes of moral conduct will completely disappear, and the 10 causes of evil will prevail exceedingly. For those of a 10-year lifespan, there will be no word for moral. So how can there be anyone who acts in a moral way? Those people will have no respect for mother or father, for ascetics and Brahmins, for the head of the clan, will be the ones who enjoy honor and prestige. Just as it is now, the people who show respect for mother and father, for ascetics and the Brahmins, for the head of the clan, who are praised and honored, so it will be with those who do the opposite. Among those of a 10-year lifespan, no account will be taken of mother or aunt, of mother's sister-in-law, of teacher's wife, or of one's father's wives, and so on. All will be promiscuous in the world, like goats and sheep, fowl and pigs, dogs and jackals. Among them, fierce enmity will prevail one for another, fierce hatred, fierce anger, and thoughts of killing. Mother against child, and child against mother, father against child, and child against father, brother against brother, brother against sister. Just as the hunter feels hatred for the beast he stalks. And for those of a 10-year lifespan, there will come to be a short interval of 7 days, during which they will mistake one another for wild beasts. Sharp swords will appear in their hands, and thinking there is a wild beast, they will take each other's lives with those swords. But there will be some beings who will think, let us not kill or be killed by anyone. Let us make for some grassy thickets or jungle recesses or clumps of trees, or rivers hard to ford or inaccessible mountains, and live on roots and fruits of the forest. And this they will do for 7 days. Then at the end of the 7 days, they will emerge from their hiding places and rejoice together of one accord, saying, good beings, I see that you are alive. And then the thought will occur to those beings, it is only because we became addicted to evil ways that we suffered this loss of our kindred. So let us now do good. What good things can we do? Let us abstain from the taking of life. That will be a good practice. And so they will abstain from the taking of life, and having undertaken this good thing, will practice it. And through having undertaken such wholesome things, they will increase in lifespan and beauty. And the children of those whose lifespan was 10 years will live for 20 years. Then it will occur to those beings, it is through having taken to wholesome practices that we have increased in lifespan and beauty. So let us perform still more wholesome practices. Let us refrain from taking what is not given, from sexual misconduct, from lying speech, from slander, from harsh speech, from idle chatter, from covetousness, from ill will, from wrong views. Let us abstain from 3 things, incest, excessive greed, and deviant practices. Let us respect our mothers and fathers, ascetics and Brahmins, and the head of the clan, and let us persevere in these wholesome actions. And so they will do these things, and on account of this, they will increase in lifespan and in beauty. The children of those whose lifespan is 20 years will live to be 40. Their children will live to be 80. Their children to be 160. Their children to be 320. Their children to be 640. The children of those whose lifespan is 640 years will live for 2,000 years. Their children for 4,000. Their children for 8,000, and their children for 20,000. The children of those whose lifespan is 20,000 years will live to be 40,000, and their children will attain to 80,000 years. Among the people with an 80,000 year lifespan, girls will become marriageable at 500, and such people will know only 3 kinds of disease: greed, fasting, and old age. And in the time of those people, this continent of Jambudvipa will be powerful and prosperous, and villages, towns, and cities will be but a cock's flight from one from the next. This Jambudvipa, like Avicii hell, will be as thick with people as the jungle is thick with reeds and rushes. At that time, the Varanasi of today will be a royal city called Ketumati, powerful and prosperous, crowded with people and well supplied. In Jambudvipa, there will be 84,000 cities headed by Ketumati as the royal capital. And at that time, And in the time of the people with an 80,000 year lifespan, there will arise in the world a blessed Lord, Arahant Sammasambuddha named Maitreya or Maitreya. So that is the description how people deteriorate because of not having morals. Just as nowadays you find the children are getting more and more immoral and doing more and more immoral things. So there is more crime. And slowly people's lifespan will decrease. This description is not that strange that people can live up to 80,000 years, because you find like in the Bible they mention about Moses and Abraham and those people who lived for tens of thousands of years also. In the Samyutta Nikaya Sutta 15.20, our Buddha mentioned that in this present world, this earth, there was a time when the Buddha Kakusanda appeared, and at that time people's lifespan was 40,000 years. Then later, another Buddha appeared by the name of Kona Gamana. At that time, people's lifespan was 30,000 years. And much later, another Buddha appeared by the name of Kassapa, which is our present Buddha's previous teacher. At that time, people's age was 20,000 years. And then the Buddha said, now I am the Buddha that has appeared in this world. And people's age is only about 100 years. So you see, even human beings, there is a wide range of difference. You can see nowadays, for example, you compare people in Europe and America who have a very good life. You compare them with people in Africa who are suffering a lot. Like even AIDS presently came from Africa, and then they have this new disease. What's the name of that book? Ebola. Also, people there are dying there of that disease, and there's a lot of hunger. Sometimes you see in the photos in the newspaper, they look like hungry ghosts and so thin. So there is a great variety, change, and this human beings, great variety of them. But after listening to the description of hell and the ghost realm and the animal realm, we should be very, very happy as a human being. We are in a happy plane of rebirth. That's why we are in the Sugati, happy destination of rebirth. But one thing, sometimes we don't count our blessings. Recently I tell you a real story of a Malaysian man. Now we have economic recession. So this man, he was a businessman. His business went bankrupt, so he had to work for somebody else, and he was getting a salary of about $1,600. He had to support his wife and children. He was pretty unhappy, but he had some money left over from his business, so he went to India. And India people are very poor. So one day he was out walking, then he went to a bread store. He wanted to buy some bread. There were a lot of children as usual around trying to beg for money. Too many of them to give. So he was distracted by the children. He knocked some bread down. So when the bread fell on the ground, all the children went to scramble for the bread. So this lady selling the bread caught one of the children, took a knife and chopped off the fingers of that child. He had a shock. I never seen such a horrible thing. This woman chopping off the fingers of this child. So this child was crying. So this lady took a cloth and wiped his hand, the blood from his hand. And as she was wiping his hand, this lady was also crying. The child was crying, the lady was crying. So this Malaysian man asked the lady, why do you do such a thing? You only wanted some bread. And this lady said, this child is my son. Said, I have to do this so that he can beg for some food, beg for some money. Otherwise people won't give. So you see, they go to the extent of cutting off their own sons' fingers just to beg for money. He was so disgusted, he took out his money from his pocket, bought all the bread there and gave all the children. And after that, he came back to Malaysia, never complained again. He had 1,600 ringgit in Malaysia, very happy. We always we forget about other people, how they suffer much more than us. We always compare with somebody better than us. We just compare with the ghosts and the animals, and we will be very happy as human beings. So our human realm is a very critical, decisive realm, because as human beings we create a lot of karma. Every day we use our thinking mind, and that determines the next few rebirths. Unlike the other realms, the other destinations of rebirth, where either they suffer or they enjoy the result of their past karma, and they don't create so much karma as human beings. We are in the middle, so we create a lot of karma. So we have to be very, very careful, because in the sutta it is said that the effect of karma is long-lasting. It lasts for many lifetimes.